Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nigma Tech's Party of the Century. I, Edward Nigma, have spared no expense to introduce...
This is quite a soiree.
No kidding. Not everyone can afford to rent the entire Ritz Hotel to display his new technology.
Oh, careful, Dr. Meridian. First you're infatuated with Batman, and now it's this Edward Nigma fellow.
Oh, Bruce, don't tell me you're still jealous of Batman.
Ridiculous. I can't be jealous of...
Bruce Wayne, my old employer. Good to see you. How are you, old fella?
As Bruce Wayne and Edward Nigma shook hands, news photographers and gossip columnists rushed in to take photos and get quotes. Everyone wanted to watch billionaire Bruce Wayne shake hands with Edward Nigma, who was set to replace him as Gotham's most eligible bachelor. It was the meeting of the year. Of course, no one, not even the two men, knew that when Bruce shook hands with Edward, Batman was also shaking hands with the Riddler.
So what do you think of my invention now, Bruce? Now that it's made me as rich as you.
Very impressive.
Why don't you step into a booth and try it out, Bruce, while I entertain your lovely friend?
Deciding to investigate, Bruce agreed and stepped into the booth. As he did, the sights and sounds of the party vanished, replaced by a perfect three-dimensional image of a tropical rainforest.
Amazing. I know this booth is empty, and yet somehow Nigma's box is projecting an image into my mind. I see trees, exotic birds. It's astounding.
As Bruce stood, entranced by the image, he didn't know that a beam of white light struck him in the center of his forehead. Nearby, a hidden computer was activated, secretly recording Bruce Wayne's brainwaves. Edward Nigma's latest version of his box was the most devious yet. Now, as well as feeding off the neural energy of any person who used it, the box could also make a complete computer simulation of their brain. And right then, the secret computer was pulling a very obsessive image out of the mind of Bruce Wayne. Over and over, it produced the image of a bat. Just as Bruce Wayne seemed lost in the machine's virtual snares, all the lights went out, and the lobby of the Ritz Hotel was filled with gunfire.
Nobody moves, or we'll blow you away! All right, we and our boys are visiting this high-tech party to perform a low-tech, old-fashioned stick-up. Hand over the goods!
While Two-Face's gang began circulating through the crowd, grabbing watches, jewelry, and cash, no one noticed as Bruce Wayne slipped into the shadows and disappeared. Meanwhile, Edward Nigma pushed his way through the screaming crowd until he was face to faces with his partner in crime.
You're ruining my party. Are you insane? Forget the question. Of course you are. Here's a new question for you. What are you doing here?
We're sick of waiting for you to deliver the bat, little boy. We want him dead right now. And nothing brings out the bat like a little mayhem and murder.
Before the Riddler could respond, there was a loud crash as something fast and dark burst through a nearby window. Before the villains could turn around, the dark shadow had swallowed up 3 of Two-Face's gang. Batman had arrived. Edward Nigma grinned.
Your entrance was good, Harvey. His was better. What's the difference? Showmanship.
As Batman closed in, one of the thugs grabbed Chase Meridian and pinned her to the wall, trying to snatch her pearl necklace. But suddenly, he felt a hand on his shoulder, and a low voice said,
"Excuse me."
As the thug turned, Batman headbutted him, and the villain crumpled to the floor. Seizing advantage of Batman's closeness, Chase suddenly pulled Batman to her and kissed him on the mouth.
My place. Midnight.
Would you excuse me? I have other things to worry about right now.
But by the time Batman turned around, Two-Face and his gang had escaped into an elevator. Batman looked out a window just in time to see Two-Face exit the building and jump into an open manhole. Fearlessly, Batman leaped out the window, plunging toward the street and the waiting manhole. Below, Two-Face saw the descending shadow of the bat and grinned. He had formed a plan to catch the Dark Knight, and so far it was working perfectly.
Welcome our guest, boys.
Two-Face's thugs quickly hoisted a gigantic tube up to the mouth of the manhole. The tube led down the sewer tunnels and into an underground construction site filled with old scaffolding and crumbling pillars. As Batman fell, he dropped through the manhole and right into the tube. Helplessly, the Dark Knight slid down the tube toward the old construction site, where he crashed with bone-jarring force into a brick wall. Back up the tunnel, Two-Face laughed out loud. Then he began to turn the creaking wheel of a rusty old valve set in the wall. Near the dazed figure of the Batman, pipes began to hiss as deadly gas escaped into the sewers.
Don't worry, Betsy. You've just got a bad case of gas. Oh, that and this little grenade launcher I brought along.
Two-Face aimed the grenade launcher down the tunnel and fired.
The bat hath flown. Now shall be done a deed of dreadful note.
The hurtling grenade struck the leaking gas pipes, turning the tunnel into a ball of white fire. The fireball spun toward Batman at blinding speed. At the last minute, Batman swirled his cape around him, then he was engulfed by flames. At the safe end of the tunnel, Two-Face gloated.
Ah, we'll dine on roast bat tonight. It'll be a feast fit for two kings.
But Two-Face's bragging was cut short as a dark figure rose up out of the flames. Batman brushed away a few ashes from his fireproof cape, then glared down the tunnel at Two-Face.
Curse you! Why won't you just die?
Consumed with rage, Two-Face blasted a section of the tunnel wall and began to tear away the old scaffolding. Instantly, the tunnel roof began to crack and crumble. The ceiling gave way, and tons of sand and gravel began to pour onto Batman like an avalanche. Two-Face was delighted.
The bat is buried. Boys, let's go have us a party.
As the criminals left the tunnel, Batman struggled against the debris. He was up to his chest in sand and dirt. He couldn't move. As the sand rose to his chin, he reached up with one hand, desperate for anything to grab. But there was nothing. Steadily, the sand covered his mouth, his nose, his eyes, and he was plunged into darkness. Batman had been buried, and only his one gloved hand, sticking up from the sand, would mark his grave. But just as Batman gave up hope, something touched his hand. He felt strong fingers grip his wrist. Then someone started to pull. Slowly, carefully, someone was pulling Batman out of the trap. As his head broke the surface, Batman gasped for air. Then he saw a green-gloved hand hold his. Looking up, he saw a figure wearing the costume of the Flying Graysons and a makeshift mask that covered his face. Batman had been rescued by Dick Grayson. Back at the Batcave, as Alfred bandaged his wounds, Bruce turned to the teenager who had saved him.
What the devil did you think you were doing?
You have a real gratitude problem, you know that, Bruce? I'm gonna be your partner. I need a name. Batboy, Nightwing. What's a good sidekick name?
How about Dick Grayson, college student? This conversation is over.
No way, Bruce. I saved your life. You owe me. I'm joining up and you can't stop me.
Bruce glared at the teenager.
I can stop you.
Frowning, Dick knew it was true. He turned away and stormed out of the Batcave. Bruce turned to his faithful butler, Alfred.
He's out of control, Alfred. And it seems like you're encouraging him.
Sir, I do have some experience with young men obsessed with revenge. I have found that they need little encouragement, but they do need guidance.
Guidance? How can I guide Dick when I'm not even sure about myself? Oh, Alfred, why do I keep doing this?
Why, indeed. Your parents are avenged. The Wayne Foundation contributes a fortune to anti-crime programs. Police handle much of the villainy.
Chase talks about Batman as if he were a curse, not a choice. She says Batman must have suffered some fearful trauma, and that's what he's really fighting. Maybe she's right. Maybe I'm not fighting for justice. Maybe I'm just fighting out of fear.
I'm afraid I couldn't begin to say, Master Bruce.
Could I quit? Could I leave the shadows? To spare Dick? To have a life? Friends? Family? Alfred, I think I'm in love, but Chase loves Batman, not Bruce Wayne.
Perhaps if you told Dr. Meridian how you feel.
How? I'm not sure she would listen to Bruce Wayne.
Then perhaps you should go as...
Batman! I never thought I'd see you in my apartment.
It's time we talked.
I know. I've dreamed of this moment, Batman. Being with you. But now, well, I guess a girl has to grow up sometime.
Chase pointed to the stack of shelves that had once contained files on the Batman. But now all those files had been tossed out, replaced by a picture of Bruce Wayne.
I've met someone. He's not... you. But I hope you can understand.
Batman smiled. Then, without another word, he vanished into the shadows. Meanwhile, in his hideout on Claw Island, the Riddler sat in his chair collecting the neural energy from thousands of Enigma tech boxes all over the city. He was growing smarter by the minute, but right now his brain was filled with only one image, the image of Dr. Chase Meridian. Ever since the party, her beautiful face had haunted his ever-growing mind. Suddenly, Two-Face burst into the room, gloating over his victory.
Our belfry is finally free of bats. An end to late-night raids by the man in rubber. No more troublesome explosions of violence from the winged ferret. Ding, dang, dong. The annoying bat is dead.
Have you seen today's headlines?
No, we haven't.
Check out page 1, Two-Face.
What's this? Batman survives subway sabotage? No!
Nice voice. You're a little flat, though. Try a C# instead.
Don't make fun of us. We are angry. Batman was supposed to die. Someone's gotta die. And Riddle Boy, maybe it's you.
Oh, me, oh, my. What desperate straits I'm in. Go ahead, my two-toned friend. Kill me. But if I die, the secret of Batman goes with me.
Batman's secret? What are you talking about?
Simple, Two-Face. My new box knows a new trick. Not only does it drain the brain, it makes a map of the mind.
Touching a button on his control console, the Riddler activated a view screen. The screen showed Bruce Wayne stepping into one of the booths at the party.
And just what does Bruce Wayne, billionaire playboy, have on his mind? This.
Touching another button, the Riddler called up the readouts of Bruce Wayne's brainwaves. Suddenly, the view screen was filled with the image of a monstrous bat, wings spread and fangs bared. The Riddler giggled.
Riddle me this, Two-Face. What kind of man has bats on the brain?
Suddenly, a grin spread across both sides of Two-Face's gruesome face.
A Batman!
A few nights later, Bruce Wayne and Chase Meridian were having dinner at Wayne Manor. As they talked in the dining room, the front doorbell rang, and Alfred went to answer it. When he opened the door, his jaw dropped in surprise.
Hello, faithful butler. Oh, goodbye, faithful butler.
That's the spirit, Riddler.
Oh, he's not dead, Two-Face. Just unconscious. Lock him in the closet and let's get to work.
Using an electronic scanner he'd invented himself, the Riddler located the secret entrance to the Batcave. The secret door swung open at his touch, and the Riddler found himself inside the most powerful crime lab in the world.
Très chic. But it's time to redecorate.
From his pouch, the Riddler produced several tiny green bombs, each shaped like a bat. Laughing evilly, the Riddler began to throw the bombs down into the cave. In the dining room, Bruce and Chase Meridian's dinner was interrupted as a loud explosion shook the floor beneath them. Then, as if on cue, the doors swung open, revealing a gang of thugs led by Two-Face. Instantly, Bruce Wayne went into action. He grabbed a silver serving tray and flipped a pot of boiling coffee over the first man. Then he brought the tray down on a second crook's head with a clang. Bruce tried to protect Chase as the other thugs fell on him. He fought back, spinning and whirling in a storm of kicks and punches that pounded the villains. But nearby, Two-Face raised his gun and aimed carefully.
Bruce Wayne and Batman. 2 identities, 1 bullet. See ya!
The speeding bullet grazed Bruce's head. Senses reeling, Bruce collapsed and did not stir. Chase screamed, but the thugs rushed in and grabbed her. The sound of approaching sirens reached them faintly.
Time for us to go, Two-Face. Grab the girl while I leave one more little riddle for our police friends to solve.
Dropping a small note on the motionless body of Bruce Wayne, the Riddler turned and left the mansion. For a long time, Bruce Wayne floated in darkness. Then faintly, he heard the sound of Alfred's voice.
Master Bruce. Master Bruce.
Alfred,
Master Bruce, are you all right?
well enough to take the bad news.
You've received a concussion, sir. It was Two-Face and the Riddler. They've taken Dr. Meridian, and Master Dick is nowhere to be found. And, Master Bruce, I'm afraid they found the cave. It's been destroyed.
Moments later, Bruce stood among the ruins of the Batcave's crime lab. All that remained was a hunk of twisted metal where the Batmobile once stood, and a few piles of melted slag where Batman's scientific instruments had been.
We've got to figure out who this Riddler is, Alfred. He's the key to all this.
He left this behind, Master Bruce.
Another riddle. We're 5 little items of an everyday sort. You'll find us all in a tennis court.
Alfred remained silent, watching Bruce Wayne's brilliant mind at work.
5 little items of an everyday sort. You'll find them all in a tennis court. A tennis court. Alfred, that's it. Vowels. There are all 5 vowels in the phrase a tennis court.
Well, that's very clever, sir, but what does it mean?
Digging among the ashes, Bruce discovered the remnants of all the riddles the Riddler had left behind during his crime spree. To these scraps, he added the new riddle.
We know the answers to all these riddles. A clock, a match, a pawn, vowels. But the answers don't seem to have anything in common. Maybe the answer isn't in the answers, but in the questions.
Do you mean...
Yes, every riddle has a number in the question. 13, 1, 8, now 5.
Master Bruce, perhaps the numbers refer to something, an address?
No, the Riddler's too clever for that. In fact, the numbers refer to letters of the alphabet. M is the 13th letter. 1 and 8 together are 18, which is R. And this last one, 5, stands for E.
M-R-E, sir?
No, Alfred. Mr. E, or mystery.
Master Bruce, another word for mystery is enigma.
Mr. E, Nigma. Edward Nigma. I think it's time Batman paid a visit to Claw Island.
Activating a switch in the wall panel, Bruce Wayne opened up a secret portal that led even further down into the shadows.
Lucky thing the Riddler didn't know about the cave beneath the cave.
Descending, Bruce and Alfred found themselves in a dark cavern with a deep subterranean river running through it. Here, Batman stored his jet plane, called the Batwing, and a sleek Batboat.
How shall I go, Alfred? By sea or by air?
Why not both?
Suddenly, Dick Grayson stepped out of the shadows, wearing the new costume he'd made. He wore a black cape with yellow on the inside. He wore green leggings, and his chest was covered by a red armored vest. On the vest was emblazoned a small yellow letter, R.
What's the R for?
Robin. It's a nickname my dad used to call me. He always said I flew just like a robin. Riddler and Two-Face make a pretty lethal combination. I thought you could use some help.
2 against 2 are better odds. But your attitude
has changed. Whatever happens, I won't kill him. A friend taught me that.
Not just a friend, a partner. Let's go.
In the control room on Claw Island, alarms began to bleep as scanners revealed a boat and an airplane streaking toward the island at high speed. But Two-Face and Riddler sat calmly in the control booth as the Riddler played what looked like an electronic game of Battleship.
Let's see. I think I'll try A14.
As the Riddler plugged in the slot for A14, a hidden cannon fired an explosive shell. The bomb rocketed toward the approaching Batboat, exploding only a few feet away.
Good shot, Riddler. Now try B2.
No, you mean B12.
No, B2. B2. 2!
Sorry, but accuracy comes before themes. B12.
Another cannon fired. This shot rocked the Batboat, sending the pilot Robin off balance. The Boy Wonder jumped overboard and dived deep, just as a third explosive shell struck the boat, throwing it to smithereens. As debris fell around him, Robin stuck a rebreather in his mouth and began to swim toward the island. But suddenly, he was surrounded by men in scuba gear. The Riddler's henchmen had come to finish him off. One of them raised a spear gun and fired. As Robin twisted in the water to dodge the spear, he wondered if he'd made a terrible mistake. Overhead, the Batwing soared over the harbor as its infrared camera scanned the water below. Batman had seen the explosion and knew what it meant. Suddenly, the infrared screen filled with an image that showed that Dick was alive and under attack. Without hesitation, Batman pointed the Batwing's nose toward the water and dived. Below, in the cold water, Robin fought against the Riddler's hired thugs. He elbowed one in the face and kicked another, but they were all around him. It was only a matter of time before he was beaten. As the thugs closed in, a dark shape loomed nearby. It looked like a jet airplane, but it moved like an underwater vessel. The Batwing had become the Bat Sub. One of the Bat-Sub's torpedo tubes fired, but the weapon it launched was not a torpedo. It was Batman himself. The Dark Knight sped through the water, crashing into the unsuspecting villains. Stunned, the thugs fell away. Batman hauled Robin toward the surface, and the two heroes swam toward the island. Inside, Two-Face and the Riddler waited.
They're on their way, Riddle boy.
Let them come. We're ready.
Swimming quickly, Batman and Robin reached the island. To their surprise, the ground was made of metal. Robin climbed ashore.
Careful, Robin. This whole place could be one big trap.
Before Batman could finish, a loud, low rumbling noise drowned him out. He stared in disbelief as Robin started to rise into the air, far out of reach. The entire island had risen 5 stories into the sky, supported by a gigantic steel cylinder below. The steel foundation was spotted with metal hatchways. Unable to reach Robin, Batman opened one of the hatchways and slipped inside. Above, Robin clung to the metal surface until the rising cylinder finally stopped shaking. Robin was wondering how he was going to get down when a voice spoke behind him.
We flipped a coin to see who got to kill who. The bat or the bird. We got you.
Robin turned in time to see Two-Face charging. The split-faced killer knocked him to the ground, then leered over the teen. A wicked-looking knife appeared in his hand.
What's wrong, circus boy? No mommy and daddy to save you?
The knife slashed down, but at the last minute, Robin rolled away and jumped back to his feet. Then he sidekicked Two-Face square in the head.
For my mother.
Two-Face tried to back away, but Robin caught him with a flying front kick under the chin.
For my father.
The villain cowered, but Robin whirled viciously and landed a spinning back kick on Two-Face's jaw.
For my brother.
Two-Face stumbled, and before he could regain his feet, Robin punched him one more time, hitting him solidly in the face.
And that one's for me.
Dazed, Two-Face lost his footing on the cylinder and slipped off the edge. At the last minute, he grabbed a metal spike and hung there for dear life, his 2 feet dangling over the waiting water of Gotham Harbor. Robin stood over him, wanting to see Two-Face fall to his death. But Bruce's words echoed in his head, and he knew they were true. If he killed Two-Face, it made him no better than a common murderer. Reluctantly, Robin reached down and hauled Two-Face back to safety.
Thanks, kid. The bat taught you well. You're noble.
Suddenly, Two-Face drew a gun.
Stupid! But definitely noble.
Inside the cylinder, all was dark except for dozens of glowing question marks that spun through the air. Batman ignored them. Nearby, the Riddler sat on his throne, surrounded by a ring of pulsing light that meant his boxes were feeding him ever more brain power.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat?
No more tricks, Edward. Release Dr. Meridian. This is between you and me.
A figure shouted, stepping out of the shadows. It was Two-Face.
And me. And me!
Face it, bats. You're outmatched. My boxes do more than enhance neural energy. They steal brainwaves. I'm the smartest man in the universe. I will rule the planet. For if knowledge is power, then tremble, world. Edward Enigma has become a god. Was that over the top? I can never tell.
Enough talk. Let's cut him in two.
That's the beauty of it, my bifurcated friend. He's already 2 people, aren't you, Batsy? He's Bruce Wayne, and he's Batman. Can they ever coexist? We'll see. Now.
Laughing evilly, the Riddler pulled a lever. A curtain drew back, revealing Chase Meridian and Robin. Both were bound and suspended over a trapdoor 5 stories above the water.
One touch of this button, bat freak, and these 2 players are fish food. Not enough time to save them both. So who will it be? Bruce's love or Batman's partner?
In answer, Batman pulled a batarang from his utility belt and threw it directly at Riddler's control panel. The batarang struck, and there was a tremendous explosion as the focus of the Riddler's brainwave technology was shattered. By destroying the control panel, Batman destroyed the Riddler's only means of controlling the energy that poured into his brain.
No!
There was no way for the Riddler to avoid the sudden rush of neural energy that surged toward him. Massive doses of brain power flooded his cranium. His entire head seemed to warp and twist, as if his brain were struggling to absorb everything being downloaded into it.
Bummer.
Just before he collapsed, the Riddler pushed a button, and Robin and Chase suddenly dropped toward their doom. Fearlessly, Batman leaped after them, holding a batarang in each hand. As he fell, the Dark Knight threw the first batarang upward and heard it hook on a ledge in the shadows above. In mid-flight, he hooked the end of his batline to his belt and reached for the falling figure closest to him, snatching Chase Meridian from her deadly plunge. At the same moment, Batman hurled the other batarang downward toward the still falling figure of Robin. The throw would have been impossible for anyone else, but he was Batman. He could not, he would not fail. The screaming batarang raced Robin toward the ground and looped around the brave teen's waist. The batline went taut, and Robin's deadly fall was safely broken, only a few feet above the rocks. Summoning all his strength, carrying the weight of two other people, the Dark Knight climbed toward the ledge above. Finally, he reached the ledge and pulled his two friends to safety. Batman thought he had a moment to catch his breath, but suddenly a bright light shone in his eyes. It was Two-Face.
All those heroics for nothing. No more riddles, Batman. Just you and us and our gun.
Haven't you forgotten something, Two-Face? You're always of two minds about everything. You can't kill me unless the coin decides.
The villain grinned and took out his infamous silver dollar.
You're right, Batman. Call it life or death.
But as Two-Face flipped his coin into the air, Batman reached into his utility belt and tossed a batarang, knocking the coin from his hand.
No, my coin! My coin!
Desperately, the madman scrambled around, searching for his special coin. Losing his balance, arms flailing, Two-Face toppled.
No!
Slipping from his perch, Two-Face plummeted downward as the angry sea rose up to meet him. On a dark night later that week, a Rolls-Royce drove slowly past the grim walls of Arkham Asylum. Inside the car, Alfred drove slowly as Bruce Wayne and Chase Meridian looked sadly at the madhouse.
So the Riddler's been locked up there for good?
Yes. His Enigma tech boxes drove him insane. Even if someday he does regain his senses, I doubt he'll remember my secret identity. And if he does, well, I'll worry about that when the time comes.
And Two-Face?
His body was never recovered, but it's safe to say he was killed by the fall.
As the Rolls-Royce cruised away from Arkham, Bruce turned to his lovely companion.
Chase, I want to thank you. And I want to tell you that I...
Sir, forgive me for interrupting.
Yes, Alfred.
I believe you are being called.
Alfred pointed up toward the skyline of Gotham. Suddenly, the ominous light of the bat signal pierced the starry night. Batman was needed.
Gotta go.
Don't work late. There he goes. Does it ever end, Alfred?
No, miss. Not in this lifetime.
Later, a shadowy figure appeared on the edge of a tall Gothic building. The Dark Knight stood watch over the 1,000 gleaming lights of Gotham City. His city. His responsibility. But then another figure appeared at his side. The figure of Robin. Never again would Batman stand alone against the darkness. No matter how long the battle for justice went on, the citizens of Gotham City knew that they could count on Robin and Batman forever.